This is unbelievable. My favorite app, Pocket, which I use to store articles that I actually plan to read later, unlike Twitter bookmarks. I use it for highlighting those articles so I can actually remember what I read, and I use it for finding and sharing those articles later. So I can be the smart kid in the group chat that says,
well, actually, I read an article on that.
Yeah, that app, poof, it's all shutting down. So I had two options. I could sit around and cry about it, or I could build my own version, but better. So which did I choose? How will I go on? Wow, AI is really getting good. Of course, I chose to build it back better because this is the joy of hacking. There is no hackathon. I love you. Let me show you how I did it. First thing I needed to do was find a place to store these bookmarks. And sure, I could have chosen the usual suspects like Superbase, Firebase, or Superfirebase. The last one I made up, I think. I realized I don't want anyone to get access to my bookmarks. I mean, that's like the greatest hits of my internet browsing history, and I definitely don't want anyone to access that. Hey, just because I want privacy doesn't mean I'm hiding something. So I needed a database that had my privacy in mind. And there I discovered nilDB, which for my English fans out there translates to 0dB. Boy mate, what's the score on the match? 1-0 to the Arsenal. Cheers mate, I'm gonna get me another pint. But this DB is definitely not 0 because it's packed with a lot of tech that I think make my version of Pocket better than the original. Let me explain. nilDB not only encrypts the data, which a lot of database providers at least promise that they do, and we just trust them, but it also performs additive secret sharing. What that means, it takes our encrypted data, let's say this beautiful URL, and splits it into pieces and stores each piece into different locations, which are called nodes. So these nodes only know what they hold, but not the whole beautiful URL. And to put it back together to make sense of it, we just needed to perform some fancy math. Did I say math? Don't worry. There's an SDK that handles all of that for us developers, which brings me a lot of developer joy. It also supports a secret by some guy named Shamir that's a bit more complex, but we're not going to talk about that here, just like we don't talk about Victoria's Secret. So that's 1 point for Better Pocket over OG Pocket for being more private through using nilDB. But you might be saying, a developer can just delete Better Pocket and you will be back where you started with a bowl full of tears and ice cream. But mainly ice cream though. And you would be wrong when saying this, because nilDB offers two types of collections, basically database tables. First, it's the standard collection, where the developer has control over the access, but there is also an own collection where users are entirely in control of who, when, and what applications have access to their data. And to make sure that they're giving the right access to the right application, nilDB uses these things called DIDs, or decentralized identifiers. So you are letting the right person in your big, beautiful house of bookmarks. That's another point for Better Pocket for user ownership. Starting this video, I said I loved Pocket, but just like any love, there's still some things you hate. And that hate was actually finding bookmarks later. Their search was absolutely trash. And I can say that now, it's dead and it can't hear me. It's the time to write tags for every bookmark. I'm not a librarian. Last feature was to use AI to do this for me. And sure, I could give my data over to good old Sammy boy at OpenAI to handle it, but I definitely don't want him to have my bookmarks either. But luckily, there's nilAI, which uses these things called Trusted Execution Environments, or TEEs. Yes, you must say TEE, and not just T's. Oh, math people. Bookmarks go into TEEs encrypted, so no one can see it while it's being processed. But once there is a response from the LLM, it goes out of the TEE encrypted as well, so that only you can read it. Sort of like when your secret crush left you a love letter in your locker in school, and you waited to get home to read it instead of at school. Yeah, that never happened to me either, but I have seen it in movies. Anyways, that's another point for Better Pocket with privacy-enabled AI tagging. And I know all this sounded complex, but was it hard to build? All it took was to create a wallet connection using the Kepler wallet for authentication with the app. Once I got that connected, it was just to initialize a secret vault using the Nelian SDK. It was to create the collection schema, basically how these bookmarks were going to be stored. I did this through code, but they've actually also launched a no-code tool where you can define this. Then for the bookmarks was to extract the actual metadata, pass that over to the AI for tag generation. I did through using Neil AI, where it analyzes the bookmark's contents and generates some relevant tags. And bam! Better Pocket was born. I just connect my crypto wallet to create a DID, drop a new URL in, and get those AI generated tags. Score is the score, and numbers don't lie. Do you think my version of Pocket is better? Let me know in the comments below. And this was The Joy of Hacking. I'm Dapper Dan, and may the joy be with you. See you in the next one.